What is going on, guys? How are you all doing today? Rangovidsmango12 here, and we finally have Civil War issue 2. Now, this issue is going to be continuing from the previous issue where we saw a mysterious shooter murder Miriam Sharp, and it was neither Tony Stark nor Captain America that ordered that hit. So that's what we're going to be trying to find out in this issue, and there's going to be a little bit more speculation over the entire Civil War thing between Tony Stark and Captain America Steve Rogers. So yeah, that's going to play out a little bit more, but the ending to this comic is just awesome. So guys, without further ado, let's jump into it. So the issue picks up with Tony Stark sending a drone into the blue, and of course the blue region is Captain America's zone, and Tony Stark is secretly sneaking this drone into there because he's trying to figure out who murdered Miriam Sharp. Now obviously he's trying to figure it out just as much as Captain America is trying to figure it out, but they don't know that. And of course, Tony Stark isn't supposed to be in the blue area, so if he does get caught, then they're going to think that he's probably planning some secret attack or trying to do something under the radar, when in fact, he's literally just trying to figure out who killed Miriam Sharp. And of course, he does eventually get caught by Aurora, and that's actually really bad for Tony Stark because Tony Stark actually killed her husband. So imagine the rage that she's going to be going through. She's going to want to tear him to pieces, but she actually brings down the drone. And I know at the beginning of the issue it looked like Tony Stark was inside the drone, but he was actually just controlling it from his own region known as the Iron. See, now this is what I was talking about earlier. These guys actually believe that Tony Stark was using this to spy on people from the blue area, when in reality he was literally just trying to find Miriam Sharp's killer. And I think that suggests just how dead the trust is between Captain America and Tony Stark nowadays. The level of trust that used to be there between Captain America and Tony Stark has just gone completely. Now, for the first time, we go over to Tony Stark's section, which is known as the Iron. And I think the first sense you get is just how well off and wealthy his faction is compared to Captain America's. And as you can see, the drone has actually been crushed up into a giant ball and is being thrown back to the Iron, being thrown back to Tony Stark, and it actually says next time it's a Hulk, meaning that if he does this again, then next time it's not going to be a metal steel ball coming for them, it's going to be a Hulk. Now we go back over to the blue, which is Captain America's faction, and I just love how the entire city looks like a giant Captain America shield. And for the first time in this issue, we get to see Peter Parker's Spider-Man, or well, he's not Spider-Man anymore, but you get what I mean. And I actually, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't like Peter Parker in these Civil War comics. I did in the first issue, but in this issue he seems like he's really jumping the gun. But you'll probably get what I mean. He seems to be jumping the gun a lot. He doesn't seem to be thinking ahead, and he comes across as really arrogant in these issues, which I don't really like. But then again, he does actually make some good points. They are fighting in a war and they have to be cautious about everything Tony Stark does, and I really like that about him. So it's not all bad, really. Now, this is actually where the comic comes to a dramatic twist, because Tony Stark has a timeline of the entire Civil War. So as you can see, it says Peter being unmasked, and then it says Project 42, and to put it into perspective, in issue 1, Project 42 was 6 years ago. That was when they were fighting in Tony Stark's secret prison, was it? And they caused that giant explosion that killed thousands of people. And then the divide came around where they all separated. And as you can see, Tony Stark has come to the conclusion that they're being played, and I don't really understand what he means by that. Like, how has he come to that conclusion, guys? Can you let me know in the comments below? Because does he mean like the people in his own faction are doing stuff to help Captain America even though they're on Tony Stark's side? If you can explain that, then that would help a bunch, because seriously, I read that part literally like 10 times and I just couldn't get my head around how he thinks that they're being played. Like, I don't really understand that. Maybe I've missed something, but in advance, guys, thank you for letting me know if you do. But as you can see, they actually have Sandman, Flint, Marco in this tube, and they are actually activating something called Bell Curve, and it actually takes Sandman's powers away and actually makes Sandman a normal person again. And the point of this is for them to use this on all of the superheroes that they're going against, and that is when it's revealed that they can only use that once. That was the only ever time that they could use this machine, and they actually just used it on Sandman. And the reason that they could only use it once was because the resources that they need to power this machine do not exist in Captain America's land. They do not exist in the blue, and the only way that they can get these resources is if they go to Tony Stark's faction, which is called the Iron, and get the resources from there. Because if you know, Tony Stark's faction is more of like a wealthy faction, because obviously he has better technology and everything like that. So Captain America sends Peter Parker and a bunch of other people like Venom and Elektra and Azari to go and retrieve these resources to power the machine, to power Project Bell Curve. in order to win this fight, in order to win this civil war. And Peter says that he's going there to get his family back. So obviously, I think what he means is that Tony Stark knows how to get to Mary Jane and Peter's daughter. So in order for him to set them free, he pretty much needs to beat these guys so that Peter and his family are completely free from everything. Now, as you can see, we have this mysterious figure coming into the blue, secretly going undercover into Captain America's faction, and it turns out that it's the lawyer, Angie Walker, and I'm not entirely sure who she exactly is, I can't quite remember, but as you can see, she goes there, passes all the security checks, but then there's one huge twist, and that is the fact that Charles Xavier is still alive, and of course he can read minds, and he'll be able to see Angie's true intentions, be able to see who she truly is, and that is something that Tony Stark didn't expect. That is something that Tony Stark didn't account for, because if I remember correctly, everyone believed Charles Xavier to be dead, so the fact that he's actually still alive is a major thing, and I think that was awesome to end the issue there. But guys, what did you think of this issue? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to give this issue an 8 out of 10. I thought that there was actually quite a few twists in there. We got Charles Xavier, we got the fact that Tony Stark could be potentially getting played and all that stuff, but I didn't quite understand that part for Tony Stark, so maybe you guys can let me know. So guys, 8 out of 10. Go to the links in the description, follow me on Twitter and Facebook to get all the latest in comic book news, and of course, follow me on Instagram to see what I'm doing in my free time when I'm not making these videos. And guys, for more, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video, and I will see you all in my next video.